What are we most proud of?
Oh, proud of. I think sort of w- uh sort of during the show Whisper of the Leaf Falling was one of the yellow shows, and I think that was something happened in that show within that rehearsal. I remember with David that even though we were focusing on the movements that we actually worked together so well,
Mm.
and the movement just came out so easily.
Right.
But you were such a brilliant teacher, Tom, because I remember when we created that two-person demon, and we used something from the dragon dance, from the lion dance,
Right.
you know, and just but you were the one that taught me those skills of how to hook my legs around your waist,
Yeah.
and you know, and then
But it's through all that rehearsal that we explore.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I didn't think of it. We
yeah.
just we explore, rehearse, and things like that came out.
Right, but it was I think it was the teamwork, because Philippe was also very excited by Eastern Southeast Asian physical theatre, and that's why he wrote it in that sort of style to use some of that training that we had. And it had Simon Wu, who's also a martial art, Tai Chi expert, and Ione Meyer, who is a very unusual English actress who had spent 3 years training in Beijing opera movement in China. So the four of us had such good physical theatre skills.
Yeah.
And it really, it's interesting that that's the show that you were most proud of.
Connected, and it really excites me. And also of all the stuff that we created. Yeah.
And I just remember that fantastic image that you did with that red scarf thing, you know, as that kind of devil's ears.
I found it.
It's just
The scarf itself. Be the original, but it would be the second one.
Amazing.
brilliant.
So this is, I mean, it's a bit tattered now. Look.
Yeah. Great. Yeah.
Fantastic.
This
That
was the actual thing.
This was the movement.
Show it to us, that the big
the
one.
picture.
Yeah.
I still remember it.
Yes, brilliant, brilliant. But that was your visual, physical inventiveness. You were so, and even when we did Rashomon, I remember we used a red scarf, because Liz Southern I was driving and Liz Southern we were passengers, you know, miming, doing that Western mime thing, and then to add to that illusion of us traveling fast in a car, you suddenly suggested a red scarf that Liz had, and you sort of held the end with it on a stick, on a simple little thing to show the kind of and just that kind of visual, physical inventiveness was, I think, what really helped the company's style. You know,
I think the way Philippe worked as well.
Yes.
How he encouraged us to like get find a piece in the script, a monologue or something, and then make it visual.
Yes.
That really gave me inspiration and
Yes.
to how to work with props and
And a lot of freedom, wasn't it, to create?
I was quite, excited to discover that. I was like, so a scarf can be a lot of other things. Yeah. But how can I make it? Like one of my favorite with the scarf is releasing when the spirit came out.
I remember. Yeah, I remember.
And that was in his natural.
Wonderful. Yeah.
It's just literally.
That was wonderful.
Yes, do please.
That was wonderful.
And every before the performance, I used to like prepare it, and actually within the role we put what did we put petals?
Petals.
Yeah, rose petals.
So that as you open it,
So when it goes out, once it hits the end, it opens and
it falls because it's at the end of the scarf.
so I'll do it quickly. So I haven't done this with the years now.
Amazing.
And that red scarf was also, or something similar, was also used in the fight scene in Rashomon. So once you stabbed me the last moment, and then I sort of released the ribbon, and then Tom pulls the sword out, and then this red fabric shoots, and it was brilliant.
Yeah.
So
So it goes, and then the rose petals fall there.
Yeah, it was fabulous. I mean, and that's very much from all the kind of wuxia, all the kind of martial arts films that in which silk fabric plays a really key role.
The Japanese kabuki as well.
Yes, and
I
throughout
mean, it's
East and Southeast Asia.
happy
with that. Throughout East and Southeast Asia, but I think particularly Tom's, he watched a lot of martial arts films, and it's just.
So that show, Whisper of the Leaf Falling, was one of my proudest, or one of the proudest.
Yeah. I remember also, like Philippe would say, like within a speech, is there suddenly one word, as you say, that passages, but he also said, is there a word, instead of a word, you do a physical gesture, something instead of, So I remember at one point, because of his encouragement, instead of saying a particular word that he wrote, I spun a piece of bamboo or something, in my hand, and that captured what that particular word, because he was trying to explore the universality of communication rather than it just being word-based. Kumiko, what about you? What's your proudest?
Proudest. I mean, I tend to think of it, I sort of zoom out and look at the company and feel really proud that we've survived, that it's survived this long, 30 years, and it's still going, and that, there's this big legacy. We've left a big legacy. I feel I like to think we've impacted the theatre scene by some of the work we've done.
Definitely.
And the people that we've brought on, and, the opportunities that we've been able to provide for other ECs. So that's, for me, that's how I feel really proud that we, that we came together and we started this, even though we didn't know where it was going to go. And it started off as, just an enjoyable process, as well as, being able to really explore together. But I think, I'm just really proud it's survived this long, and hopefully it'll go on for another 30 years.
Yeah, this long 30 years.
I'm proud that fate, destiny brought this group of 5 people. This is a wonderful photograph of when we toured the Magic Paintbrush to Singapore, and we were we had a bit of free time, so we all went down to the beach, and Tom and Roman, I can't remember who suggested, I think probably it was Tom, suggested we build this human pillar. And we did, and there's 5 of us. There's Roman on the bottom with Tom, and then there's me, there's Veronica and Kumiko. Oh, Kwong is on the bottom. Kwong, Roman, and Tom on the bottom. And me and Veronica.
Surprise.
And I'm strong enough. Me and Veronica in the middle, and Kumiko on the very top. And I think that photo really symbolizes what the ethos of the company is. So the fact that
in what way does it symbolize?
in terms of bringing us together, in terms of that interdependence, in terms of that support, and building something. It really captures symbolically. We built something that lasted, like the pyramids. This is a pyramid. And it's lasted, and it's 30 years. I mean, 31 now. So extraordinary. So that's what I'm proud of, like you. I mean, I'm proud of giving birth to this baby. It's now a young adult, and it's healthy and strong, and it's open. It's trying to change the world. I'm proud that we changed the landscape of British theatre, because prior to that, we were completely invisible. And we still are on things like EastEnders, all the soaps. There's no East or Southeast Asian family in any of the British soaps.
Brookside.
Brookside was only for a year,
City,
and then it didn't carry on.
blended family.
And it didn't carry on.
Yeah,
It didn't carry on. But
It's true.
It didn't carry on. It's just for like a
Little blip.
a little blip, and then it disappears.
More than a little.
Whereas
Brookside was quite, quite present.
Brookside was a year and a half, whatever. And then as soon as the characters are written out, then it didn't continue. It didn't lead to more uncles, aunties, cousins, boyfriends, lovers, partners.
Yeah, but don't deny it. It was there for a year and a half, 2 years.
I mean, all these
And
things have
Brookside,
happened, but they haven't continued. Whereas if you look at on the Archers, the world's longest running radio drama. You've had a South Asian lawyer, Usha, the character Usha. She's been there almost 40 years, 35 years.
Wow.
If you look at EastEnders, how long that's been going, they've had 5 different South Asian families. They've had multiple black families, LGBTQI, disabled. They've never had a British East or Southeast Asian family. And there's so many of us in London. There's so many of us in Manchester. So there's still, within TV and film, there's still a kind of institutional racism. But
What are you proud of?
what I'm proud of is that in theatre, at least, because we're part of the Arts Council, NPO, we're a project, revenue funded NPO, and it means that every year the company can tour, make work, commission East and Southeast Asian writers, directors, actors, make work and tour across the UK and show our stories. That's what I'm proud of. And I think I think the legacy of the company is that it's profoundly affected how we're viewed, at least in theatre circles, and at least in subsidised theatre circles, because most of the venues across the UK are subsidised by the Arts Council. So they have a responsibility to programme East and Southeast Asian work.
But I mean, you could say, there wouldn't be a production like My Neighbour Totoro in the West End right now if there hadn't been Yellow Earth.
Perhaps,
actually. Because, right from the beginning, I remember talking to the writer and various people about creatives who's out there who are EC creatives and casting and stuff. And, they've been able to cast 3 different productions, they're into their 4th production now of 24 people.
Yes.
As well as, so I think, that's a story,
exactly.
The companies like us.
Yes, because the company's built up.
Yeah.
But I just think, the company has really helped people's experience, platform, whatever.
Yeah.
And I just think that's great. That's something to be proud of. That we've played a small part in people's development, a sense of empowerment and belonging and opportunity. And I just think that's great, because if we don't do it for ourselves, we couldn't have relied on just the mainstream sector to do it. Because generally, even now, you see so many shows, it's all white, and their casting, their culture diversity is 1 black or 1 South Asian, and that's it. I'm sick of not seeing shows that are like Blue Remembered Hills, as diverse as what we did back in 1999. This is 2026, for goodness sake. Every show that we see in the West End should be always diverse. Should always be, there's some white people, there's black people, South Asian, East and Southeast Asian, disabled. It should be always inclusive and diverse, and it still isn't in theatre. I mean, film and television now is catching up. There's many things like Bridgerton. There's Katie Leung is there. There's other East Asian actresses are there. So other things are actually getting ahead of theatre, and at the moment we still have that battle. I think still.
I mean, I think we went through a more positive phase. I have to say after
and
post-pandemic. with
there
the
were
financial
quite a few
crisis,
years of
etc.
it. I think.
Everyone is relying on star power. And they
I
don't tend
think,
to be
So
East
the
Asian,
industry
but-
changes. And it keeps
and
changing. You
commercially,
see,
it's very
that's what it
difficult,
is.
so-
You see.
I think
We
for
do
me, I am really proud of what I've just described, but I think I will only rest. I'll be happy to die when finally there's a regular EC family on every soap, not just EastEnders, every soap. Because even
You're going to have to live a long life.
even Emmerdale, because some of us grew up in rural England. I grew up in rural Herefordshire.
Correct.
Right, so
Yeah.
every soap and every mainstream long-running series. Call the Midwife. I know loads of East and Southeast Asian midwives who came over, in the 50s to work for the NHS. Why are we invisible there? You know, the only Chinese storyline they've had is Chinese people who need rescuing by white people. I mean, that's racist, you know, and that's still going on. That's still going on. So that's what needs to change. Anyway,
Kwong.
Kwong, your proudest moment.
Well, I
proud
think I'm really proud of the fact that through our work, you know, especially at the beginning, we carved out a space for a community that often had then, you know, 30 years ago, had not been recognized, I guess, you know, of our existence. You know, we try to do the work, but I think through the 5 of us getting together, form a company and do the little bits of work that we're doing and so on, begin to carve out a small amount of visibility, which as with every acorn, you know, it grows into an oak tree. I don't think, you know, we're at the oak tree stage yet, you know, but certainly it's a big bush, you know, certainly now. So I think I'm very proud of the fact that we did that work. Although I must say that when we first began, that of course wasn't the thought, you know. Of course, we want to create work for ourselves, which actually by the very nature of the work that of the fact that we want to create work for ourselves is carving out a visibility of space. You see what I'm saying? And from there, we managed to open that little crack, you know, begin to develop the work that we did, but the result or the consequences of that is visibility. And hence, you know, then what you're saying, you know, now it grew, and then, you know, we're much more present, and then Bridgerton and this and that and so on and so forth. And as Kumiko, as you say, after pandemic, I think there was a space of time when there was quite a lot of big East Asian work in the main theatre spaces, you know, the Royal Court, the National, and then the RSC did Midsummer Snow. So meaning, you know, they're picking up on that. Okay, suddenly this year there hasn't been anything, you know, but the fact that Totoro is very present.
and you just saw Sarah Lam and Melissa Wong in a show. At Hampstead.
So it's ongoing.
Yeah.
You know, it might be slightly smaller splashes, but sometimes you get a big splash, a small splash, but it's ongoing.
Yeah.
And it came from 30 years ago,
Yeah.
you know.
And I think the landscape is much more open now.
Yeah.
That's
I think it's much more positive than before, than when we first started.
Definitely.
So I'm proud of that, you know what I mean? You know,
absolutely.
yeah.